club in Saru. I don't know if you remember, it's search and rescue group. And they have put us in the woods and yeah, we're gonna find your way back to the right. So that should be really fun.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So tonight, I'm going to introduce our speaker, who I met a little over 2 years ago when I first moved here to Idaho, because I was very rusty on fly fishing. And I thought, I gotta need some help on this, you know. I'd gone to the club meeting and didn't know what they were talking about. And so I went to Mike and went through his school of fly fishing, Northwest School of Fly Fishing. And back then we were doing in-person meeting, and it was a great school. I learned so much, and I continue to learn from this club, or I can call Mike, talk to him and learn. Now the class is virtual, and he'd been working on this for a number of years, not knowing COVID was coming, but he had already planned it to go completely virtual, and he'll tell you more about that. But he does have a standalone shop, but it's a school. It's a school. Though I do like his flies. Some of his flies are very unique that you can't find in the other shops. So I do like that. But it was he and his wife, Martha, started Northwest School of Fly Fishing. And every once in a while you get to see her down there. And he's just a wealth of information. He's had the school for 30 years. He's been fishing for over 50 years. And just a wealth of information, but what he does enjoy giving back and teaching people. So Mike, we really appreciate you coming out to Star and doing your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I do own Northwest School of Fly Fishing, and as Greta was telling you, 6 years ago, the concept was to take fly fishing, teaching fly fishing international. That was the scope 6 years ago, and it's taken till August 1st of this year to really accomplish that. So it's a lot of work. So essentially, we're going from a brick and mortar school to an online school. And yeah, so that's kind of where we are today. But who I am is I'm a teacher of fly fishing. That's all I've ever been. So what I do is I help people who have never fly fished before to be successful. And it's hours of work. Unlike a lot of places across the country, we're talking 20 hours of work. BJ's, she can tell you. And then I help skilled anglers get better. And so that's kind of what I'm doing now and in the future. So we do have a little school now on Fairview. We moved out of the 5,000 square foot building because we're not doing classes and things anymore, into a nice small area. And metaphorically, it's like a golf course. You go to a golf course to play golf. You don't go there to buy your clubs. You go to Golf Galaxy to buy your clubs, but you can't play golf there. So it's kind of different. Metaphorically, that's kind of what I do. Also, I'm a new author. I've just written a book called Critical Concepts in Fly Fishing, Mastering the Art of Fly Fishing. And I just finished a book here a couple months ago. It's with the editor, and it's called On the Water, Memoirs from the Old Fish Hole. Okay. That was a fun book, right? And I'm starting the third book. So this book was finished prior to COVID. And during COVID, I wrote 2 books. Most of what I do at Northwest School of Fly Fishing is one-on-one. And that will always continue with me. I'm not losing that part of the business. So tonight, I'm very grateful to be here. Anytime I can talk to people about where to fly fish. When you're a public figure like me, I speak a lot. It's one of the things I really enjoy, going to other organizations and speaking. I do all kinds of stuff outside of my shop. I've written books and articles in fly fishing, and my voice is out there. And when you put yourself out there to the public, you're open to criticism, and you got to have a thick skin. Well, I have a real thin skin, and I don't get critique like that. I don't get bad reviews and things like that. But the one thing I am really guilty of is this. People get angry at me because I tell them where the secret fly fishing spots are.
Thank you.
So I am known to, there's not a day that goes by while I'm at the shop where somebody doesn't come in and ask me where to fly fish or where to fly fish. Now, I understand that people out there have their secret holes out there, but last I heard, this is America, and we're free to fish anywhere we want. Second thing is I'm a firm believer in this. There is no secret spots anymore.
Right.
There's just absolutely none. Yeah, and when people tell me where their secret spot is, and please don't tell anybody where the secret spot is, I have to tell them, well, it's not secret, everybody knows this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm guilty of that. And I do get that flack sometimes. He's the guy that gives away all where to fish, and I'm guilty as charged, because I want people, it's important that when you go fly fishing, that you catch fish. For some people, that becomes very, very important. It's not until you've been fly fishing for a few years where it becomes unimportant. And the physical act of fly fishing has a beauty all of its own and rhythm. And if you really buy into that physical activity, that rhythm, the beauty of fly fishing, if you buy into that, then you're going to catch fish. But if you just do the opposite and you're just so pressured into catching fish, you get frustrated. I'm not doing this anymore. And then you've defeated the whole purpose of really what fly fishing is and the reason why we go out and do it. At BSU, I used to teach a class many years ago. It was called Where to Fly Fish in Idaho. And it was 3 nights. And I broke it down into sections. It had North Idaho, Southwest Idaho, and Eastern Idaho. And it was 2.5 to 3 hours each night. I remember at the very end, a bunch of people came around to me afterwards and they started asking me questions. And a lot of the questions were, how do you know these places? And the answer is because I wanted to fly fish. So fly fishing really is an excuse to go somewhere. Or it's something to do when you're there. Or it becomes a passion, or it becomes all 3 of those things. Either way, it's a gift, and it's something you should really, really enjoy. And that's the kind of philosophy that I do at Northwest School of Fly Fishing. Anyway, so the reality is that's a lifetime of fly fishing. You get going to these places. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you all about my fly fishing. You show up for 1 week and let me speak to you for 3 hours for 7 straight days. And I will tell you my life of fly fishing. 55 years of fly fishing. And at the very end, when I'm all done, only 5% of it is about fly fishing. The 95% is about the fun we had there, the people we met, the places we met, the things that happened, the lifelong friends we made. You know, my kids, my oldest son's pretty near 40 now, and he was a little boy, and watching him learn to fly fish, take them to places, like watching my daughter catch her first trout. And these things become important when you're young as you get older. But these are the experiences that we fly fish for. And to catch a fish is almost secondary, but it's the reason we're there. And that's valuable in fly fishing. So letting you know where to go to fly fish creates these adventures in these places. So we're here tonight to talk about, I'm here tonight anyway, to talk about the Hagerman Valley. So how many here know where the Hagerman Valley is? Pretty much all of us, okay? So if I was to give this presentation, and there was 100 people out there, and there's none of them are fly fishermen. And I would say, how many people know where the Hagerman Valley is? They would all know about it. Then I would say, how many people fish the Hagerman Valley? 1, okay, and that's very good, very good. That's about right, okay. And I was one of those. I was one of those people that, I know where that is, but I don't fish it. back in 2005, there's a very famous hatch on the south. Well, wasn't famous back then. It was just a local knowledge back then, called a pink Albert mayfly hatch. And it happens from really July all the way into now. Even now, it's on the back side. But you can go up to the South Fork now and see pink Albert mayflies, catch fish there. I went up there on a Saturday morning to fish that 14-mile stretch of river, pink Alberts. And it's an afternoon hatch, so I thought I'd get there and just chill out the rest of the day. I couldn't even find a parking spot. This is in 2005. Now I could go to the Waihe River and there'd be hardly anybody there back then, because it was relatively not that well known at the time. But everybody was at the South Fork, and so I just kind of gave up, spent the day, found a little bit of water to fly fish. It's this kind of water nobody wants to fly fish, but enjoyed my day. And I'm type of fly fisher that wants to go fly fishing all the time. So the following weekend, I thought, geez, I want to go fly fishing. And I really want to fish that mayfly hatch on the South Fork River. I don't want to deal with those. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the wife and kids and we're going to go down to Hagerman Valley. I want to see what that's all about. So we rolled into 3 Island Crossing State Park, and that's where we stayed. And I snuck away and I looked on a map, and the first place that I could see in the area was the Malat River. Now this is Saturday, because we left Friday evening. It was Saturday morning about 10 o'clock. So I drove up, not knowing anything about the Malat River. I drove there and I went down, I saw the river. There was no one there. Absolutely no one. And I walked down the river and I'm staring at the river, and there's fish rising all over, up and down the river. It was incredible fly fishing. And long story short, got back to camp and I took the kids down and the wife. We did the whole thing in Hagerman Valley. There's more to do down there than fly fish. So we went to Hagerman Valley for 4 straight weekends. And I started going to other places. And you know how many fly fishermen or fishermen that I saw in Hagerman in those 4 weeks period, 4-week period? Absolutely. Absolutely. At that point, then it became a place I need to find out about this place. So over the years, I put this together. Now, recently, as early as spring this year, I decided that I was going to run down there with the film crew and we're going to do a video. This is the kind of stuff I do nowadays on fly fishing Hagerman Valley. So I don't have that video available, but I have some video outtakes of it. So I'll take a peek at that. Because of COVID, we had to stop production and a lot of things like that. And our underwater camera broke. So I brought some pictures and I brought some videos. But first of all, that's kind of my introduction to Hagerman Valley. It was almost by accident. And ever since then, it's my destination of choice 12 months of the year. So Hagerman Valley, let's take the first, the area itself. I always say the Hagerman area really borders, the northern border is Shoshone. And the reason we say Shoshone, because that's where the North Fork and the Middle Fork, excuse me, that's where the Big Wood River and the Little Wood River finally meet, just west of town. And where they meet is where the Malat River is formed. And the Malat River is known as the shortest river in the world. Matter of fact, that trout right there came out of the Malat River. And it's the North Fork, excuse me, it's the Big Wood River and the Little Wood River. That's that water that creates, at least officially, the Malat River. Sometimes there is no water down there in Shoshone. The rivers dry up. Certainly this past winter, there was absolutely no water there. Now that water will flow straight south like it's heading right to the Snake River. And it goes under Highway 84 and all the way out, I don't know, about 6 miles, and it dumps into the Snake River. So there, if I'm standing right now, if I'm standing on Highway 84 on that bridge right now, if I look to my right, the Malad River is dry. If I look to my left, the Malad River is a raging river. It's amazing. If you Google map this, you can actually see. It's just the Snake River aquifer just boils out there, and it just comes in from everywhere. And it's like that almost the length, and it just swells that river up. Now that's artesian water. Do you realize that the water that's in the Malad River can be older than 250 years? And that's the most nutrient-rich water God ever created. And it forms this perfect transfer, bubbling pocket water as it flows into the Snake River. So that's kind of the northern border. The southern border would be the Snake River. So the real departure point is Bliss, Idaho. So if you leave, make sure that I'm on the clock.
Okay.
And give me 15 minutes. So if you head east from Boise, you leave Boise, hit Mountain Home. Next one is Glenn's Ferry, and the next one is Bliss. And Bliss is kind of cool because that's where everything splits. You got three major highways, and you have Highway 84, you got Highway 26 that goes to Shoshone all the way up to Highway 20, and then you have Highway 30. So to get to that interior of the Hagerman Valley, you have to take Highway 30. Now, I'm told there's an event coming up at Vanderbilt. Yeah, right. So this timing is perfect for y'all. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. 8 miles from Bliss is the Malad River. I fished the Malad River 6 times this year, from winter all the way to spring. Not a single fly fisherman. Now I've talked to other folks that fished there. Yeah, there was someone there when I got there, so it's not like that. But it's, as long as I'm around, I'm telling people to go there and enjoy and fish there. It's a pure pocket water. So there's fish in every little pocket.
Is access easy?
Yeah, access is somewhat easy. It's somewhat difficult. That's why I'm here. You can always go. You can always go to Northwest School of Fly Fishing. I'm always there, and all I do all day, as Greta can tell you, all I do is talk from the minute I get in. People come in, and all I do is talk, where to go, talk fly fishing. That's all I do is talk. So you're free to come in and ask me these places and where to go. Stuff. It's not like a fly shop. So if you head over the gorge, like you're going into Hagerman, so the Malad River is like 5 minutes or less on Highway 30. Then you're in downtown Hagerman. But you got to cross Billingsley Creek to get to Hagerman. How many here know where Billingsley Creek is? How many have fished it?
I asked about that actually.
Well, I'm going to tell you. Okay. And I actually have Billingsley. I know Billingsley Creek like the back of my hand. And it's some of the finest. I think it's, y'all know where Silver Creek is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think more of Billingsley Creek than I do Silver Creek.
Wow.
There's nobody fishing. In 30 years of fly fishing in Billingsley Creek, I've never seen another fly fisherman. Ever. I have it to my, but you got to know when to fish it. That's the key. And I'll tell you. There's multiple access points. The very top one you got to go through Hagerman to get to. That's the handicap, the bridge. I think I have a photo of a little video clip of that. And it flows all the way down to Billingsley Creek Lodge. And they have a new access there. So they built a brand new access there. But the old access and the lower section becomes very flat and open, almost like a pond. So if you like to float to it, that's the place to do it. But if you go through Hagerman, again, about 5 minutes from Hagerman, like you're heading towards the Snake River on Highway 30, you have 2 humongous hatcheries. One is Idaho State Hatchery, and one is the Federal Hatchery. and then about another mile on the highway, and you're right on the Snake River, crossing the river out to Banbury, Thousand Springs. Well, if you know anything about hatcheries, they gotta have water to have a hatchery, right? And I can tell you right now, water from the Snake River is not good for hatcheries. I mean, there's all kinds of pollutants in that Snake River. I mean, the water goes out to the fields and comes back in. I mean, that's not good water to have a hatchery. So they have to have really, really good water for a hatchery. If you know anything about the Hagerman Valley, it's full of hatcheries. I mean, it feeds America. These hatcheries feed America with trout. That's how huge they are, as well as all the private hatcheries. And one spring feeds all of them. And that's Riley Creek. Riley Creek is really two creeks. So what happens is the very far end towards the Snake River is the federal hatchery. Riley Creek comes right out of the ground. It's a spring creek, not just on federal property, right there. It just comes out of the earth. And I have photos of this, and it just flows. So when we think of spring creeks, we think of what, grass encrusted spring creeks, right? And they meander like that. And that's what you have at the federal hatchery. It's not till Riley Creek, it's about a mile and a half between the federal hatchery and the state hatchery. And Riley Creek feeds them both. Where Riley Creek enters state land, okay, that creek is now utilized. It creates ponds and it's open to any kind of fishing. A lot of people go there for lake fishing and whatnot, and it's really utilized as a huge sportsman's area. Those people don't fish Riley Creek at the hatchery. They don't. Only fly fishers do. And it's one of the finest spring creeks for new anglers. And I like to go there when I'm in. I always go to Riley Creek when I'm in the valley. It's fun. I can drive down there. I taught my 7-year-old granddaughter how to fly fish. I had her for one summer, every day at the shop. She'd see me out there all day teaching people how to cast. And she said she wanted to learn. So I taught her how to cast. And then we took her fly fishing at Riley Creek. And I took her down to the bridge there. And I said, now just do like Granty told you to do. Remember, Granty told you to do that and do a quick little flip. So she did a quick little flip on our first cast ever fly fishing. That 7-year-old took a trout that big. She nearly killed that trout. But you know what? What happened after that? Her second cast, she caught another trout. And it's a hellacious spring creek for blue winged olive. Have you been up there, BJ?
Right,
Yeah.
I scouted it, because you told me about it.
Yeah.
And it's,
And one of the top flies for that creek that I have been using over the years is a size 18 olive soft tackle from the blue winged olive. You just float it wet south.
on Riley.
All right. And we're getting back to the strategy there. Now, to get to the hatcheries, there's a sign that says state hatchery. They turn up there. If you just go up and follow the sign, there's an asphalt road that parallels Highway 30 like this. So Highway 30 is going to dump down into the Snake River. Well, this asphalt road is going to parallel up high. So highway, again, you can Google map, but this asphalt road is going to be up here, Highway 30 is down here, and the two hatcheries are right there. And then you could just take a right turn to go on the state, or you continue on and you can fork off into the federal hatchery. Right? Okay. Let's leave that. How many know where Thousand Springs are? Well, it should have been there with Postcard America. If you don't know what Thousand Springs are, if you know anything about the Lost River and the Little Lost River, and a lot of little streams, they go underground. They just disappear. And they go into the Snake River aquifer, and they pop out again on the canyon rim. And you see all these springs coming out. How many people have seen that? Yeah, you see all these springs, and there's Banbury down the road, and there's the lodge there, and people, blah, 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 blah. And the Snake River's right there. and you say, wow, all that stuff. Now look at those beautiful springs. They're all over and they're coming right into the Snake River, right? 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 Wrong. Wrong.
Didn't that go to that crystal blue lake?
No.
Or that?
No. When you look at those springs, what you think is the Snake River is an island. Yeah. And there's an island there. So you see the island. So you look across and you see these springs coming out. These springs are coming in behind an island. And the Snake River is going this way. Okay. And the springs are going this way. Yeah, it's really cool because you get there and it's just coming right out of the mountain. Right in front of your eyes, you see it. And that's called Ritter Hot Springs. And I have a photograph of it. Ritter Hot Springs, not Ritter Hot Springs, Ritter Spring Creek is as wide as this room. And it's crystal clear. And it has a nice river to it. And I was there.
It's Ritter?
Ritter.
Ritter.
It's a state park. The island's a state park.
Yeah.
We're gonna go check it out when we go.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Uh,
beautiful.
The island is a state park. And I was there March 1st this year, and I was the only one in the park. And it's a grass park. It's like a park. And it's right in front of you. It comes out of the mountain right there, right where it turns and goes opposite direction of the Snake River. I was all by myself. And what fly do you think I used? A little soft. And I just rolled it out there. First cast. And no one there to see it. And now, how do you get there? Let's go back to Federal Hot Springs. And remember that road that parallels? Okay, so that's the road you want to be on. Because what's going to happen at the very end of that asphalt road, it's going to fork. And the right fork is going to take you right down to Riley Creek. And the left fork is going to take you to Riley Creek. And if you bypassed Thousand Springs, you can go to Box Springs. Box Springs. Where's that?
That's a bit of a hike and it's hard to find.
Box Springs. I remember someone telling me about it. There's no springs. There's no Box Springs. Where's that?
Is there a issue?
Yeah. It is the largest spring creek by volume in America. And Liz has been there, and you don't even see it. It's just a hole in the ground. Isn't it?
Yeah, it comes out, there's like a drop off.
Yeah, it's
You
like,
gotta hike down there, it's kind of a gnarly hike.
yeah.
And there's a little drop off, and you don't, it just comes out of the drop off and then flows into
The
the
Snake River. Yeah. And so it's just a big hole in the ground. So it looks like a desert, and there's a hole in the ground. And it's maybe 5 minutes from the river.
That's really pretty good.
And then I don't know if you've been there recently, but I was kind of surprised. They've put in a huge parking lot, bathrooms, white stripe lines, and at the canyon rim, they have a really nice viewing area. And then the trail she was telling you about goes down, and you walk that trail, take you all the way down to the river, and you can fly fish down there. And so,
I've seen people hike it, but I've never seen anybody fish.
yeah, I've been down there. Yeah. So if no one's fishing, what do you think?
Probably fishing there.
So I caught quite a few fish in there last time. Okay, and there's also Sand Creek. That used to be open to public, but a bunch of people bought up the property from out of state, and now you can't go down.
So I was gonna ask you, so these are all public access
Yes,
places?
these are,
that's
yeah,
fine.
Ritter, a Box, Riley, and the latter are open year round.
Most of those are fish hatcheries or.
Please check your regulations, it changes every year. So let's back up a little bit, because I have one other place to tell you about. Let's back up to Billingsley Creek. Most people go to Billingsley Creek, and they just can't fish it. And the reason they can't fish it is it's just real thick in there. I mean, they have willows and pussy willows, and it's just so thick you can't walk in there, let alone cast. Can't cast at all in there. And I remember a number of years ago, maybe 6, 7 years ago, a very famous fly fisherman here in the valley told me he was going up to Billingsley Creek. And oh, you are? He goes, yeah. He says, well, let me know how the fishing is. He says, okay. And so that Monday, I called him up and he says, well, it'll be on my blog. Okay. So a week went by, another week went by, another week went by. And after about 6 weeks, I finally called him up. I said, hey, it's not on my blog. He said, yeah, I went there and I didn't catch any fish. It was too hard. It was too hard and thick in there. And blah, 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 blah. Well, I stood on that bridge and caught trout. That's another story. And that's the same story I get from a lot of people. And I had a young man come in this winter, and he was interested in Hagerman Valley. I said, hey, head over to Billings of the Creek. It's closed. No, it's not. It says, no, it's not. It's open. So he went on my word, and he came back, and he walked in and says, oh my God. Yeah, oh my God, that's right. Because guess what dies in the winter?
Oh, the vegetation.
He was able to, and I have for years too. You can actually, I mean, if you really Google map this, you can actually see, because it's a state park. And there's a trail that takes you all the way to the length of, all the way down to the highway. And you have places, I'll give you this second, yeah. You have places where in the winter, you can just walk right out and fish this place.
So we're talking winter.
Winter and spring.
But could you like float it, like putting up
Absolutely.
the bridge?
Absolutely.
That's what we were thinking about doing. Putting up
Absolutely.
the bridge.
You just gotta have a shuttle.
So, right, so first down to the end where there's sort of a parking
Right.
lot at the little, maybe there's a little hiking trail.
You have to, there's a new entrance, and I haven't been there. It's just put in this year. There's a new entrance in there, and there's a little bit of walking that you have to do between the parking lot and at the lower end. Yeah. But where you put in, and there's a handicap dock there, and you just walk. Yeah, so the upper part is really easy to work in the spring. So I say winter because it's when it all dies, but typically it's spring or early spring, like February. is what I'm in. And then certainly no snow in there. But the lower section is, and I'll show you a picture of it because we're gonna go there right now. Am I doing time? Okay. Because I have one of them to talk about, and then we'll go to pictures and questions. Okay. The lower section that you're talking about taking out of, that's a really great place to float. It's huge, and I have a picture. And there's other ponds up there that you just drop your tube and go out. And right off, I mean, there's right before you get to the Snake River Bridge, there's a rest area. There's ponds right there. You just get your
Can you fish that rest area?
Absolutely, yeah, and you can, and again, I always say, check regulations.
Yeah, because kind of a bird sanctuary.
Yeah, there's, you can fish in there, I've seen people fishing. But I think when it opens and closes, meaning I don't think they want you in there when they're laying their eggs. So I think it's a late July type opening. Yeah. Last I heard. Any more questions before I go show you some pictures?
Are we gonna do the sex of this fish?
Oh, yeah. Any guess on the sex of the fish? How many think that's a female? Raise your hand. How many think it's a male? So I only have 2 participating in this.
Unisex.
Okay, let me do it this way. How many say I don't know? Okay, so when you look at this trout right here, and that's why I put it up there, because I wanted to do this little quick quiz with you. A really good way right off the bat to determine whether that's a male or female is by the size of the mouth. That's an obvious female. A buck will have a mouth that goes a little bit further in.
No hook on the ball.
No hook.
So just a longer.
Right, and the larger the trout, the more deeper that will be for a male. And the larger the trout, the rounder the mouth will be for the female. And it doesn't matter if it's a brown trout or not.
Before you go on, we have 2 questions
Yeah.
from our Zoom people. What is the best, most up-to-date place to check regulations?
Mhm.
And what about what about by the road and bridge?
Best thing on the spur of the moment, call fishing. Instant access. They have it on their laptops right there. They just look at it. And as far as second question,
By the road and bridge?
what by the road?
Tell me access.
Oh, yeah.
Or.
There are no dirt roads. There are no.
No.
It's all paved.
I have a question. Have you ever fished the upper Salmon Falls?
Yes, and I want to talk about that. I have.
When are you going?
That's my last one.
Okay.
Salmon Falls is really very, Banbury, I think Banbury and Miracle Hot Springs are owned by the same people now, I think. The first place I ever camped in Ohio was Banbury, back in 92. Back then it was just a camp, dirt. I've also camped at Miracle Hot Springs, which is across the highway. And both very popular and both very nice places to go. Salmon Falls Creek flows right through Miracle Hot Springs and close to Banbury. And a lot of people think you can go in there and fish, and you can't. The best time to fish that is in spring, because that is a smallmouth area. That's where the smallmouth come in there to spawn. Again, check your regulations. As far as trout goes, you want to go to the upper Salmon Falls. You got to go through Buell to do that. That's not very far. You got to drive into Buell, and then you head south, and it's called Balance Rock. Balance Rock is a campground called Balance Rock, and the road doesn't go very far either way, but they plan it in there really good, and it's heavy and thick in there. But there's a lot of trout in there, and those that didn't know go there every spring. That's a really nice place to go if you're looking to go someplace new and camp. It's been fun, and you're not too far from Buell, so you can actually be at Banbury and go fish there. And I know people that, I think there's a video on YouTube. Look it up. It's, these people took their canoes down. But yeah, there's trout in there.
Why not?
So I would refer to Liz on that one, because there's some really good fly fishing in there, and there's trout in there, and not a lot of people know about it.
I had a friend that lived in Twin Falls, and he took us over there, and it was his secret spot.
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called, I think it's called Balance Rock Campground. It's the Salmon Creek or Salmon Falls Creek that flows through there.
But it's for the spring, better in the spring,
It's better, I think,
not one for one weekend.
especially now. Well, I don't know.
I went in February.
Well, I consider February spring. The winter is from Christmas to May. Okay, well, let's move on to any more questions. Let's move on to some of the pictures I got here, and I'll kind of explain. Again, this whole video on fly fishing in the Hagerman area, it's in production right now. There's still a couple places that we want to go to and some more film put to it. And so it's not complete, but rather than come here and just tell you about this stuff, it's nice to see what it is I'm talking about, so you get a visual. So this trout right here was caught at on the Malad River.
And that was a female.
Pardon me?
And that was a female.
That was a female. And to give you a picture of the Malad River, that's the Malad River at 200 cubic feet. And I have caught in my 30 years, close to 30 years of fly fishing this river, right here where I'm circling that right there, I've probably taken 1,000 trout on a dry flow.
And how easy was it to get down there?
Very easy. Very easy. As a matter of fact, I'm standing on a bridge taking this photograph.
Oh, wow.
Quick story, I was down there and I was down there working on, I was filming fly fishing here in the valley. We were doing film work there, and I had to be back in Boise at 2 o'clock. This is during COVID, so I packed my lunch. I was tired, and I thought I'd stop right here and eat lunch. And so I pulled in right there. I pulled in. You cross the bridge right here, and there's a parking area right there. And I set up my camp chair, and my little table, my ice chest. And that's all I can right here on my chair, like this. And I go, wait, a minute, let me walk down the river. And I walk down the river, and it was just boiling with trout. And it was blue nose. So I have a rod locker on my truck. It's always got a blue dowel on at that time of year. So I'll just do one cast. So I'm wearing street clothes, like just like anything now, so jacket. And so I took my rod out and blew it all up. I walked down there and made one cast. When I was done fishing, I couldn't eat. I had to put my stuff in the truck. I had to eat on the way home because the amount of fish, I caught like over 35 trout.
Wow.
Right, and I'm not in the water. It's like, so I kind of got my rod stuck out like that because you can tell there's a lot of wills in there. And I'm kind of got and that's this section here.
So is that 30, Highway 30 right there?
That's Highway 30, yeah, right there.
And if you keep going south, you're heading towards.
So if I turn, so I'm standing on the bridge right now, and I'm looking up. I see Highway 30 bridge, right? If I turn around this way, I'll see the Snake River. That's how short this river is.
But the bridge you're on, standing on, which road's that?
So the road comes down, you can see this road right here.
Yeah.
So it's gonna come down and cross the bridge. It's an Idaho Power bridge, one lane bridge. All this land's owned by Idaho Power. You just come down from the highway here.
What's the name of that road
I don't know,
that you're coming in?
cross the border and turn right.
It's easy to find.
Yeah, Google Maps is perfect for this stuff. I'll give you some more fish porn right quick. This is probably more likely, probably 60% of the trout in there are in that 10-inch range. And this is your average beautiful little ring. They're all wild in there. They don't put any planters. You gotta remember, this is a different type river. It's not a tailwater river because there's no dam. And it's really not a freestyle river because it didn't come out of mountains. It came from a combination of mountains and artesian water. So it has the characteristics of a tailwater river and freestyle. So you have this river that when there's no hatch going on, you can throw out a stimulator or an elk hair caddis, as long as it's floating on the surface. These guys will strike it. And it also has these really pinpoint hatches on it. It's incredible caddis hatch in afternoons and evenings. And so it's really a fun river, an easy river to catch fish. And this trout right here is a really nice trout. This is probably a 14 to 15 inch trout. If you see my arm right there from tip. Wow. Yeah. And they're much larger. So there's a whole range of fish in there from large to small. Like most rivers, there's more small ones than big ones.
Is that a male?
That's a male, yeah.
Look, I go there.
So you see that split in that tail? The split in the tail tells you. It's a whitefish. That's a whitefish.
I'll start paying attention now. Oh, it's a female.
And now I'm standing on the I'm on the dirt roads. They're big wide gravel roads. Why does this road takes you down there? And they keep it oil, so it's almost like asphalt. I'm coming down that road and I'm looking down at Malad, and you can see all the pocket water in there. So the guys that know what we do is we come up here. We're down there at the stone house. We walk up here. We walk along up the plateau, and we drop down and work the water. I'm 65, so I'm getting a little old. Yeah, so that's kind of what it looks like when you're on the highway. And I'm about halfway down between the highway and the river, so it's way down. So these are all on the black. Let's see. This one. Yeah, it's the same one. That's with that 1,000. I'm standing on a bridge. That's 1,000 fish. Give or take 100 fish. And that's easy to weigh. So And here's the last fish picture. There you go. So there's some big ones in there. Again.
Now?
Well, I keep a log and I have to write all this stuff down. All right, so let's look at some of these outtakes. This is the lower buildings look great. You try not to worry about what we're saying. This is the lower buildings of the creek. Voiceover, perfect. Flow to me. I'm at the lower buildings of the creek access point. This goes all the way around here. Very near the buildings of the creek end. Called the flea market entrance. It's very well posted. And you can get access into here. Folks will go up the creek and put the float tubes in and float down to where I'm at right now. Or they'll put it right here and just meander right around in through here and work the rising fish or work the weed lines and that sort of thing. But again, this is unmarked and Buildings of the Creek is closed. And it won't reopen again until probably, I think it's Memorial Day weekend. That's why it's an outtake, because it's not closed. So we have to do another voiceover.
Is there trout or bass in there also, or just trout?
I've never caught any bass.
Okay.
And what's the access to this?
Flea market.
Flea market, the old flea market, and there's a new entrance down near the flea market. So, yeah, but you have to walk away. A couple of years ago, I went down there and there was a couple of guys walking their canoes. It's quite a walk. It's a couple 100 yards. That's Saturday. But you can take the float tube down here and just have at it. You can put in at the topmost entrance and float down here. Start to see why guys don't walk. It's just so full. It's very, very difficult fishing. I won't bore you with my voice. I want to show you right quick. I want to show you. This is one we're going to actually put in the video. This is Riley Creek. So as you drive down into Riley Creek, you're heading to the federal hatchery. You have to cross Riley Creek to go into Oyster Lake and the federal hatchery. It's fun to tour all that stuff. You get a chance when you're up there, take a federal tour. So the fishing at the federal hatchery is done at that bridge. You just cross a bridge apart.
I picture it also.
Yeah, well, and you'll recognize this section. So as I'm standing on that bridge, I'm standing on this video here, I'm standing on the bridge and I look up and I can see this drop off. This is 50, 60 feet from the bridge. And it's like this all the way across the creek. And you'll see some fish rising, I think right in here. This was done in the first week of March. So during the summer, if you look here, you can barely make out the biomass in there. See that green? It's just starting to come out. But in late spring, and that's why people don't go there and fish with their worms and bait, because the bait goes to the bottom. And it's only about this deep in there. And it just goes, and I've seen it, they drive up, put their bait in the water, 10 minutes later, they just reel in and go back to sleep. And they don't plant this. These are all wild trout. Federal government does not plant this. Right in the creek, you're going to see this nice little tumble into the little tail. And I've been fishing this little ripple here with the dry for pretty near 2 decades. And I've never failed the exhibition. They range anywhere from 7 inches up to 12 inches, 13 inches. But I like to come in here, park on the bridge, and this is where I want to go in. Look really carefully at the bottom of this creek, this gravel walk. You can see biomass, that eating biomass, just starting to come in. I've watched probably half a dozen fish already. This is early spring. About mid-March right now. And they're in. It's a good way to come out here and just enjoy a day at the dry farm. So this is your more typical, my favorite spot on Ryder Creek. Spend a lot of time on this section right here. Sometimes my wife is just sitting around here watching it get through. I think grandchildren. Okay, I'm one of those oddballs that don't wear waders.
My water's cold on it.
And I was raised on a river fly fishing. And my earliest memories of life were on the Freestone River. We lived right there. My parents died there. We didn't know what waders are. So I'm one of these hardcore guys that peel off their waders in March. Don't wear them again until November. I'm one of those oddballs. But my point is that I just, when I'm there and I can be there in the summer, I just wear shorts, sandals out there. And if you got about a mile stretch of it, I'll reverse it. I think there's another section here.
Did you have a favorite dry fly you use there?
Yeah,
Oh, I wrote like blooming dog.
yeah, my point, in the spring, the blooming olive is the only mayfly that hatches twice a year. It's a spring brood and a fall brood. The spring brood is always size 20, size 18, and the fall brood is always size 20. So in the spring, I'm usually using that soft olive size 18 and a number of other birds. But that's what you're going to see on that river in the spring. And if you've gotten anything out of this presentation tonight, I'm going to take them a lot in the spring because you can't fish the white river. There's just a lot. You can, don't get me wrong. I love the white, but sometimes I just want to go away from it. Yeah.
Well, that brings up a question I had about flows. So we think about flows on Milwaukee or on, Boise or South Fork. With these spring creeks, there is no flows.
For everything except the Malad.
Okay.
The Malad, the Malad is a wonderful river from now until spring. But we get that runoff from the north, the Big Wood and the Little Wood that swells up.
Mm-hmm.
And Idaho Power will not be releasing water that it just shoots through there. A good website to go to, not USGS for the Malad. It's Idaho Power. And when you click on it's Idaho Power or something, and you click on to location, and you scroll down to find Malad River, and there's a gauging station right where I caught all those 10,000 fish. There's a gauging station right there, and that's going to give you the accurate flow. Anything from 300 on down is fishable. And it's been 125, 225 all summer. But when we get a lot of rain, a lot of snow, and all that water's coming, got to go somewhere. And it goes from the Big Wood, the Little Wood, right through there. So this is still, I'm standing on this bridge looking up at that riffle, okay? Now I turn around looking down, and this is Riley Creek that we know. See how pretty that is? Every time we always take a picnic there. This is where my granddaughter caught her fish. And it just flows through there. And way over here, if you can see the cursor, that's a state hatchery.
Mm-hmm.
And this is this comes right out of the earth. And that's me doing my thing. The battery died on my phone. This is an outlet. So that kind of gives you an idea of Riley Creek. And then I want to show you right quick Ritter, because you probably want to go there. There's Ritter. And beautiful. So this is Ritter Island right here. Right. So Ritter Island. So Snake River's on the other side of the island. It's going that way. So this is Ritter Springs. See the this is in March, and you can see the biomass is just. This is an outtake.
So if you go hike a little further, there's some deeper pools. Can you put in like a kayak or a float tube or something?
I talked to a gal a couple of years ago. She was in the fast track program with me, and she went up there with her family. She put her float tube in there. She just got it, and her family couldn't get her off the water. So you really need to really look in and do some research about Ritter. I'm not too sure on the amenities there or anything, but you cannot get to it. You have to go back to you know, the federal hatchery, go that back way. Just drop it, just follow the sign and drop it.
What's it gonna be like in October?
Well, it should be very close to this because it's all spring water. And it'll be you're probably looking at a lot more biomass. It'll be really weedy, really thick with weeds.
Do you need to do dry play on that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm standing on grass. There's park benches. And the river actually is turning this way. It's coming out of the mountain and going around me. So I'm kind of like on a corner right here. It's going this way around me. I probably took, I don't know, half a dozen or more, just goofing off. And that's a good view of Red Creek. And there's, it's fun because you drive down, you're going down, you got to drive down there. And you're going like this, and you go, and as you're going down there, there's these springs coming up. It's kind of really neat to hang out there for a day. And there's a bridge that crosses, the bridge is to my left here. The bridge goes all the way over there. Now that was closed when I was there.
It's been closed every time I've been
Yeah.
there. They're all open in the middle of the day, and they close the gates because they rent those houses out,
Oh.
like Airbnb.
Oh.
And then they close the gates like in the afternoon, so people rent the houses, get the island to themselves.
We're gonna rent the house.
Yes.
So this is a really special place. And I would imagine in the summertime, a lot of people would go there.
Oh, yeah, in the summertime, it's full of people and their families all in there swimming.
Yeah.
So I didn't do any fishing because it was just like kids and people and swimming and,
Well, you see me in the spring.
yeah.
And again, I have to tell you, I spend most of my time in the Hagerman area in the spring. And the reason, these are spring creeks, they're not snow pack runoff. They're not,
Yeah, they don't freeze over.
none of these places are quality of the White River, the South Fork, the Snake, some of the great telephone rivers, but these are rivers that aren't being fished. And, you know, I spent years and years telling people where to fish locally here. And I mean, hundreds and hundreds of people over the years where to go fish locally here in our mountains here. And I still go there and don't see any of those people there. They just don't go. But what this is, what you should get out of this presentation is there's, in the spring, there's an alternative to the Boise River, the Oahe River, and the South Fork. It's the same driving distance between the two. It's an hour and 20 minutes to get to Moab. And there's amenities, there's restaurants, there's, you know, a sporting goods store, a flash shop. There's places that you can eat and do things. There's the fossil beds, certainly the hot springs. I'm never down in Hagerman area and not in their hot springs. And it's very family oriented down there. There's just so much for you to do And if you golf down there at Clear Lake, where you can golf right there, where I golf at Lens Ferry at the state park. Typically, I stay at the state park. I just slum down.
You ever fish at Glenn's Ferry, that 3 mile on the park, did you share that?
Yeah,
Is it any good?
it's tough.
Is
You
it?
have to be in a boat.
Okay.
And the smallmouth fishing in there is very, very good, but you gotta be in a boat. And it's incredible carp
Yeah.
when the spring, when a carp or spawning. Oh my goodness.
You can't float too.
It's no,
Okay.
that current is dangerous.
Okay.
I mean, it does some crazy things there. I was down in a canoe one time. Oh my God.
Where's that you talking about?
3 Mile Island. Oh, okay.
I'll tell you though, a really good place to fish, again, it's a secret, is go to King Hill, to the railroad bridge. On the other side of King Hill is a really full-on stream that flows into the Snake River. And the last 2 times I was there, it's carter fishing. And smallmouth are spring spawners, and they stage. You can't fish that creek because it's closed. Smallmouth stage right there in front of the mouth of that stream. And it's King Hill. King Hill is what? 4 miles from Glens Ferry, right on the river. And you just turn off the road and go down under the bridge, come back up on top, walk out to the mouth of it, and do your cast out.
What's the access point right there?
Well, there's a road that actually turns into it goes down under the railroad, takes you out to the river.
Off of the interstate?
No, not interstate. No, you have to exit Glens Ferry,
Oh, okay.
and then you go all the way through the town of Glens Ferry.
Okay.
And you go out the other side of Glens Ferry, and that road's gonna take you back to the freeway.
I see.
Well, it goes over the freeway, and the freeway goes through, this road takes you to King Hill,
Right.
community. You just go through King Hill, you see the railroad bridge out there on the road, just take it out, and it crosses that creek. There's a railroad bridge because there's a creek or stream through there, yeah. So that's a side note. But I always stay there at the state park, because I like it.
Would you can't fish there?
At 3 Island Crossing State Park.
No, at the Kings Hill?
Yeah. That river's open year round.
Yeah, I thought you said you could fish there too.
No, you can't fish the stream. That stream is protected. That's a smallmouth spawning stream.
Okay. So
Yeah.
how do you know the difference?
Well, one's
Where you're allowed and where you're not allowed?
because the Snake River is a huge river, and if you throw your flies in the Snake River, you're not fishing in the stream.
Okay.
There's a little stream and there's a big river.
Okay, so fish the big river.
Right.
Yes.
Trust me, fishing game are always in there because they're trying to keep people from they don't care if you're fishing the river, they just don't want to fish the spring. And
Can
they-
you fish like at the mouth of the
Yeah,
creek? Oh,
absolutely.
that's what it flow down into the river?
Yeah, I don't, there's not an issue there. But again, I will tell you, consult,
I know, we don't want to get.
consult that. I mean, I've carved there probably more than any place else ever. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about flies. How are we doing time?
I'd say at 8:30, take Q&A.
Okay, let's take Q&A right now.
Well, 10 more minutes. And then we
No, we'll do Q&A right now.
Lisa, do you remember your Carolyn Briggs starting the club? Having a deal, if you were driving a car, we went over there, we got to go down into the fish ladder, we got to climb down and watch the fish come through. That was really a cool experience. Yeah.
Have you fished Briley Creek? Back?
That's me. Okay, what was the question?
So have you fished Riley Creek where you go back to the fish hatchery behind the pond and it's really kind of small?
Yeah.
And then it goes down to a waterfall?
Yeah.
Did you like it there?
I fished the Riley Creek all the way, every square inch of it from there, all the way through this, right where it goes into the state, the first pond in the state. And as a matter of fact, the biggest fish I caught this year was on the state property. and it was probably a 26-inch
Wow.
rainbow. Yeah, I caught right there in Riley Creek.
You don't see people fishing that because they're all fishing in the little tiny ponds with their bait.
And, you know, it's just, it's a recreation area. What I mean by that is people go there to recreate. They picnic tables, they put their oaky sticks in the ground, and they put their float tubes in, and they have their ice chest, their music, and doing what they love to do. And those people aren't going, you know, right now we get the better hatchery is not like that. It's very pristine and only fly fishing. I can't recall seeing one guy. They usually go there to the bridge and they'll go there for 5 or 10 minutes, so they look at it, turn around, go back, because it's just not deep. But it's just a beautiful place to be. It's just a river. I put this up here right quick because I wanted to show you this. I don't know if I can expand it or not. I can't. But what I want to show you here is that road. That work. That's Ritter Island right here. And that's where the highway crosses, Highway 30 crosses the Snake River. And this is that famous Thousand Springs. And then there's your Bender. Well, you have to take this road right here to get into both Ritter Island and Box Creek, Sand Creek's right here, I think.
What road is that?
I couldn't tell you. But I know to get to here's the hatcheries right here. You can see a road here and a road here. The state's right there and the federal hatcheries right there. And this road right here is going to take you. So you'll see a sign that says State Fishery, State Hatchery. You just take that and you go straight all the way till you hit that asphalt road. You take it right. So you take this road right here, go all the way up to the asphalt road, take a right. It's going to take you.
Okay.
And trust me, it's windy. It's all asphalt. And you get up and just follow the signs. But I think Box Canyon is a good day hike. It'd be a fun place to go. It's kind of a wonder. I just stare at it. And I heard about it. I didn't even know it existed. I heard about it. And I had to go up there.
So where is the bridge that we had Highway 30 that showed where he went down and caught 1,000 fish in this map? Is it up? higher?
Yeah, that's up here.
The higher.
It's up way up here. There's the Malad Gorge right here.
Oh,
And it's in the Malad River, and you cross the bridge, take a right, and it takes you down right here.
okay.
When you come down the hill off the freeway,
Yeah.
it's just a little bit after you get to the bottom of that hill.
Okay.
Yeah, so that road's gonna take you, this road right here, you're gonna turn right, and there's gonna be a road right there. And that road is that big white gravel road, and that's gonna go straight down the Snake River. And there's a huge, on Snake River, you gotta remember, I'm standing on that bridge, I can see the Snake River 100 yards away. And that's about 100-yard sportsman's access there. But what happens is you take this road down right here, and it crosses, it's an Idaho Power Road. So it goes this way, and then it's a one-lane bridge over here. And that's that bridge I'm standing on, that thousand fish spots right there.
Crazy.
No guarantees. But if you start now, live for 30 years, you'll get you 1,000.
So what's in your book?
Oh, the book. The book is really cool. It's called Critical Concepts in Fly Fishing, Mastering the Art of Fly Fishing. I wrote the book. I have a co-author. He did this. He put the pictures in. Did
So
over.
most of like techniques and how to fly fish, not places,
no.
more techniques or.
Science of fly fishing. Let me give you an example.
How much is the book?
It's $25. Special price. First paragraph. For every person, there must be a beginning. At some point in our lives, our curiosity or interest in fly fishing reached a pinnacle where the desire overcame the anxiety. It could have been caused by a TV show or fly fishing movie you watched.Maybe you were invited to go fly fishing with a group and someone was fly fishing. Perhaps while visiting a beautiful river, you watched a fly fisher and then instead, whatever it was, always a spark that ignites deep inside of us that burns to a point where we cannot ignore it further. That's the first paragraph. At some point in time, we all take that first initial step into fly fishing. And then the doors open for you. Now, Liz, that's the first. You see my little grandpa. And I go into myself as a boy and fly fishing. And then, so chapter 1 is about that. It's about beginning fly fishing, how it starts with us.
So you hold that for you?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Make sure it stays stable.
Oh,
Also, content.
it's good,
Chapter 1, beginning, chapter 2.
it's good.
That's trout. Rivers. Chapter 4, the logic of the 90-10 rule. Bugs in the box. Flies and etymology. Murders, nymphing, leaders, reading the water. Economy of time. Search image. Simplicity of fly fishing. Putting it all together.
Bill, I had to cut your toes yesterday.
So, basically, what I've done is, and how I teach. If you've ever been to my shop, there's 480 books on fly fishing in the library. I took 480 books and took the principles and concepts of fly fishing out of those books and put them in here. And that's what it is.
Where's your shop?
On Fairview, between, it's on Fairview and it's east of Cole Road on the north side of the street, right next to Bridgetown.
Next to what?
Bridgetown or Firestone.
Is there the VFW, you guys ever
Yeah.
went to the Boise Valley Fly Fishermen's meeting? Right near there, if you get that, you missed it, turn around.
It's open Monday.
Monday through Friday.
Is that American Legion? Or
The shop's open Monday through Friday. We're closed Saturday, Sunday, and I'm there Monday through Thursday. Probably next summer I'll be there Monday through
So what time?
till 5.
What's our stuff?
So for our trip.
I'm sorry, no, it's just the way it is. You know.
What flies should we be thinking when we go to Van Buren and we grab this? What flies?
In all reality, you should probably fish all those places with a soft tackle. Soft tackles with old. How many get my newsletter? It's free. Come by the shop, sign up. Free, get it twice a month. It's a fish report. Blogs. For example, this month there's a blog on soft tackles. Soft tackle's oldest fly in creation. And probably the most effective fly ever created. There's one place in town sells. So soft tackles are really good. They're just a little colored body fly with a. So soft tackles. Certainly, you want to keep your flies somewhat small. I wouldn't really want anything bigger than size 16. The key to all these, like Flat River, is use soft tackles, and if you're going to use the dry fly, it doesn't really matter. You want to make sure. That your dry fly is always on the surface. If it's not on the surface, it's in the book. If it's not on the surface, if your dry fly is not on the surface, you will not catch any fish in the library. These fish are looking at the surface for the food. If it's under the surface, it's not food. The trout have no cognitive thought. So if trout are not picky, they're not smart, they're not selective, they're not anything. Because that denotes cognitive thought, meaning a trout can't think. It has a brain the size of a pea. That's not good. That doesn't look good enough. Trout doesn't know what you are. You can't scare a trout because he doesn't know what you are. These aren't my opinions. This is scientific fact. So anyone who walks around saying, "Oh, those fish are really selective," no, you should tell them to fly. Okay, what I mean by that? Well, doesn't that mean they're picky? No. These trout are seeing hundreds, if not thousands, of the same identical thing coming by them. right? And you plop something down that doesn't look like that. Does that mean they're selective and smart and picky? No, it means you don't have the right fly. Had you put this pin fly on, you would catch every one of them. And that is your, there's two schools of fly fishing that are century old. Excuse me, there's the presentationist and the selective scientist. The selective scientists say you didn't catch that fish because you had the wrong fly. You would have the right fly, you would have caught that fish. Presentationists say don't listen to that oddball. You didn't catch that fish because you made a poor presentation. And they hate each other. You should read your books. But what I try to teach, and what most really fine fly fishers will teach you, is that you have to take both. You got to have the right fly, because trout are seeing this black Sharpie over and over again. And if you're going to put a red Sharpie out there, and that's all you're going to do is use a red Sharpie, of course it's not on you. Those fish are too picky. Had you had the black Sharpie. So when I say it, the key to fishing the Black River is having that fly on the surface, because this is a cross section between the tailwater and the freestyle. Those trout are looking for their food on the mirror, not in. So it's the same thing. Food is on the mirror.
The food's gonna always float to the top.
On,
So no droppers.
yeah, you could, a good one would be a soft.
Okay.
Like a blue, so we should take a blue.
Right. Now, this is something, again, you're talking to the guy that teaches the science of fly fishing. So this is a very scientific extent. Keep in mind, every single thing in fly fishing is an exception to. There's four things that can destroy a relationship: religion, politics, money, and fly fishing. I can tell you, I've sat around many a fire with some great fly fishers, some of the greatest guys. And I'm tired. I don't drink, so I'm tired. I want to go to bed. And I'll say something extraordinarily controversial, and they go to bed. And I lay there and listen to the arguments till I get sleep. Everything, there's an exception to everything. The real laboratory is on the water. So that point, the point I'm making to you tonight, this is a scientific point. This is right out of the lab, because the real world is on the water, and that's where you find all the exceptions. So I can say for every scientific point in fly fishing, which is what this book's all about. Okay, I've had exceptions to almost every single one of those. Who can, Mike? I get this all the time, Mike. I was on a river and I saw this fish rise, and you know, like 5-6 minutes later, another one. What causes those fish to do that? I don't know. I have no idea. Who can figure out what's going on in a trout? Now I got my eye on the clock. Okay, I will tell you this, and this is how this works. We know 100%, without a doubt, how a trout sees. We know exactly how a trout sees. It sees very much like our human eye. The human eye has a horizontal view like you're looking at now, and a human eye has a vertical view like that. See, I don't see the audience. See what I'm trying to say? Trout has an identical view like that. We can take a human eyeball in our hand here, and we can take a trout eyeball in this hand. And we can really make some really neat comparisons. They got cones and lenses and retinas, and now our scientists can really pretty much understand how a trout can see. I would say up to about 95%, because there's a really debatable thing on color right now, how trout see color. We'll never know how they see color. Okay, but that's it. But we can't take a human brain in one hand and half of a pea in another, you know, and understand how it works. So what we do when you read these things, we have scientists that do studies, kind of like Pavlov's dog. They draw their conclusions and their hypotheses and their theories, and they write a big paper, and then it becomes that's kind of how, all we know. Basically, a trout can spawn, rest, feed, and be safe, and that's it. You can't do anything else. They can't do two at the same time. You can't feed and be safe. You can't scare each other. You want to do one at a time. You can't spawn and rest. You can't be safe and spawn. You can't feed and rest. This is the science. Exceptions don't get out of the river. And that's the whole point. It's not that you apply yourself to the science of fly fishing. It's that you understand how it works. Helps you understand. Fine.
Yes, are there any more questions? I'm so glad we have this recorded because this is a welcome.
Hey, I do have the book available. It's on sale, $25
Yeah,
for you
Mary
tonight.
wants to-
And if you want, I'll sign it afterwards. And the next one is out on the water, memoirs of an old fish hobo.
Okay, so.
Very good.